Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video. It has been quite a while since I've actually shot a video. It's been so much is going on in my life. If any of you actually follow me on TikTok, then you'll know a little bit about what's going on with me. But I'll make sure that I leave that link down there in the bio so you can check out some of the stuff that I got going on. But today I'm actually coming here because of a video I did on TikTok that I was actually talking about. However, it is something that's actually very important, and I probably perused it in one of my earlier videos where I was actually talking about God being talking about God being non-binary. And the thing is that this actually came up a little bit more because I talked about it a little bit more with someone else probably like a few days ago, given the fact that I feel like this is something important that actually needs to be talked about. I feel like in society we should view it a lot more like this, and I feel like this is part of the reason that we have such an issue here in America specifically with this topic. Okay, so here's the thing I just want everybody to think about, and I'm going to break this down quite a few ways in order for you to understand why exactly this is a problem when it actually comes to just religion in general, to be honest with you. And this is why I talk about it so much. So here's the thing. People don't seem to realize that we defaultly, is that even a word? Defaultly gave God a male gender, that we automatically assume that he is masculine. And the problem with this here is that this trickled down into a lot more, especially getting down into the Bible and everything. But you know that God made Adam and Eve. And then one of the reasons we automatically say that God is male is due to the fact that man was made in his image. And then we are told that women were made out of Adam's rib. And then there's things in the Bible that talks about us basically as women serving men and things of that nature, right? So when it comes down to this, it's given these levels of power inside of religion. So, you know, in religion, it's supposed to be, what is it? God, man, woman, children, right? Now, here's the thing that I like for people to understand when it actually comes down to God. God is a spirit. Gender only exists here in this planet in order for us to reproduce. You have to understand. Gender is only created so that we can repopulate the earth when it comes down to everything. If we did not have gender the way that it is here, then we wouldn't be able to reproduce, unless of course it was made differently in some sort of way. But you get what I'm saying. We're just talking about how it is. When we are talking about male sex organs and women's sex organs, that is only as a means to reproduce. Okay. However, you have to understand that God does not have any sort of reproductive organs because it is an energy. He is a spirit. Spirits do not have to reproduce or things of that nature. And I believe honestly that man was made inside of his chemical makeup and not necessarily his physical appearance. But you know, there's still a lot of things that make us think that we know that God had a son and that was Jesus, according to religion, and Jesus was a man. So automatically, the way that I was taught was that Jesus is God in his work clothes and he came down here, right? Is how I was taught about it. So then automatically we're like, oh, it's a man. But energy does not have to be masculine or feminine. You can have masculine and feminine energies, but this is not something that is required on that end. And you have to understand that there are masculine and feminine qualities associated with God being a spirit. And people don't pay attention to this. If you really look at this and you look at how God is, and we automatically give him a masculine form, there are certain things that we associate with masculinity that don't necessarily have to be true because they can still dance all over. You get what I mean? But automatically we associate wrath and revenge and things of that nature with masculinity. Leadership, masculinity, we associate that with masculinity. However, God created the world. That is a feminine energy. That is a feminine quality if you're really breaking this down, because women on this planet create life forms. Creation in itself, when you give birth to anything, artwork or anything like that, that is considered a feminine energy. So when you're looking at God and he exhibits both of those energies, this is what's making it androgynous. God is androgynous or non-binary, whichever way you want to look at it. And we tend to always believe that gender is so important here on this planet. We think that it's everything. We associate it with everything. You know, women are supposed to stay home and take care of children, and men are supposed to go out and work, or at least in older societies terms, if you get what I'm saying. And we have been molded to believe that we're supposed to take on these roles, which is, for me, one of the things that happened with me was because I believed that I had to embody the role, that it was hard for me to even come to terms with who it is that I am. Because when you're looking at religion, they make it seem as if all women are supposed to be in dresses and submissive to their husbands. And it's all because we've made these levels of power when it actually comes down to gender and things like that. Even when it comes to clothing, clothing is just clothing. Clothing should not be gendered. And a lot of times we associate that with, you know, how a person is. Oh, he's wearing a dress, she's wearing a masculine suit and things like that, when it doesn't matter. Clothing is just clothing. And because of all of this, it has really affected us to the point where it's a separation. There's judgment with others about this, and it's all starting from believing that God is a male when God just is. People don't understand that God just is. When you're looking at God as an androgynous being, it really opens your mind up more to a lot more possibilities, because automatically people associate your gender identity with your sexuality, and then people believe that you're going to go to hell for your sexuality, but none of it actually adds up, and people need to pay attention to this. But let me tell you exactly why I talk about this. I talk about this so much because in my childhood, I was always believing that I was supposed to go to hell for being attracted to the same sex. There's so many things now that I realize are conflicting with everything that we're actually taught in the church. And when you're in church and you're so brainwashed, you want to believe everything wholeheartedly, and you don't want it to be that something you have believed so hard in has the possibility of not being true. So even though I heard people talk about this back then, saying like, oh, well, things are very contradictory in the Bible, it's all this and that, and I'm like, what are they talking about? No, it's all right. They just don't see it. And in reality, it is. It's very contradictory. One of the things that was contradictory, that was not necessarily in the Bible, that's really talked about, that I didn't understand, was how people said, well, being gay, bisexual, lesbian, it'll send you to hell. But then there's individuals that are intersex, that are born with both parts or both sex organs. I was like, okay, well, how does that make sense? Because if you have both sex organs, wouldn't it be okay for someone to date either or gender? You get what I mean? And that was something that was like, I couldn't ask anybody about it, because then that would be outing myself. But nobody could answer that. And then when it's brought up in conversation, a lot of people that are considering themselves people of God, they kind of just blow over it because they don't want to address it. They don't want to talk about it. And this whole thing with gender identity and all of that, it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous with the God that we serve. The one that I know that I serve now, because before I was viewing it as someone that was judgmental about every little thing. When it was also very much, when it's the case that when it comes down to church always taught us, oh, well, the soul is what matters. This body will pass away. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, right? And I was always confused by that. And I don't know why people, well, I know why But people don't hear that in the church. The body is what matters down here. So, I mean, yeah, the body matters down here. The soul is what ultimately matters when you cross onto the other side. And if that is true, then why is it that if I was to, and this can break down to anything, tattoos, sexuality, gender identity, anything of that nature, how is it that if any of that is done down here, then it matters on the other side? For Christ's sake, we aren't even going to go up there and be with a wife. You get what I'm saying? And that was even talked about, like, in the Bible, where someone had said, like, oh, well, if a man married a woman down here and she passes away and he gets married again, well, who is he going to be with in heaven? But it was basically like it wasn't going to be like that up there. So why are we so fixated down here about gender identity and all these different things down here? But I talk about this so much because I want to make sure that people coming from where I'm coming from, they understand this. People that are questioning their sexuality or their gender identity, that they don't think that they're going to hell. People that may not even necessarily be struggling with sexuality or gender identity, but may be a part of the church. Maybe this is something that they need to hear. That is, if they're willing to hear it. Like, if you click the video and you're here, clearly you had questions about it or you wanted to know something about it, but I guess that's all for now. I just wanted to do like a really quick chat on that, but I plan on posting more videos. I'm probably going to shoot another one in just a second. But yeah, you guys, if you have any questions, please post it down in the comments. Follow me on TikTok. I definitely make posts on TikTok a whole hell of a lot more. But I'm allowed to say a lot more here without censoring myself so much compared to TikTok. But I will talk to you guys later. Bye.